Alright guys, welcome back to Midwest Gardens here, and today, despite it being very cold outside, we're going to talk about the best way to plant those tomato plants. So the key to this is you're going to want to boil the tomato plant.
Hey, Nick, you do this all the time. This is not that recording. You have the wrong recording. Bob, can we do something about this guy? He's out of control, man.
Yes, master.
All right, guys. So you're here back at R&R Reviews again, and we've got some new content for you. We want to actually take a minute and talk about the year 2019 and what a great year it was. What a great year for film, for cinema. And today we want to take a few moments and talk about our top 5 reviews from last year and talk about each of our specific top 5 picks also.
Spoiler alert.
Spoilers! They're coming!
They're coming in through the back door!
Spoilers!
They're coming!
Welcome to the Cinema Club.
R&R reviews.
So for the year 2019, we put on the books 36 movie reviews with an average of 6 points per movie. And the inception date for R&R Reviews was in April of 2019.
And our first review was Avengers Endgame, which was a spectacular movie to start with. And this thing has changed a lot in that time. And it just continues to change as we continue to figure out what works and what doesn't. And we try to improve our content always.
We've gone from written reviews to now recorded reviews. We started out with spoiler-filled reviews. We are now spoiler-free.
Spoiler-free!
At least for the most part.
Yeah.
Right.
We started rounding the points. Instead of 6 point this, 7 point that, now they're all rounded.
Yeah, because we like nice, crisp numbers here at R&R. And we don't really truly understand decimals. We kind of failed that part in school, and we're still trying to figure it out.
Don't make us sound like idiots, you idiot.
They're so not like percentages like I thought. And that's why 2/3 is the same as 35%.
Whoa.
Which is also the same as 3.1.
All right, let's...
And now we're going to go over our top 5 highest rated scores of 2019. Now, these are our highest rated scores, not in our personal opinion, but based off the numbers that R&R scored them at last year. And keep in mind that these aren't those rounded off crisp numbers just yet, because we didn't start that in effect until 2020.
All right, starting off at number 5, we have the reboot of The Lion King. Rated 7.5 out of 10 points. All right, this movie was pretty awesome, we thought. Obviously, a big talk with this film was the visual effects, the fact that they went with the real animal looks, so the animals were accurate in their descriptions. They didn't have, humanistic personality faces, things like that. So it was pretty impressive what they did with the visual effects.
A big takeaway for me with this film was the score. I thought it was truly incredible. Of course, they had all the artists returning to work on it again, and that made it that much more epic and emotional music.
But I will say, in contrast, the movie was word for word, exactly scene for scene, the previous movie. There was maybe 2 differences, the whole thing.
Coming in at our 4th highest movie was It Chapter 2. We gave it a 7.7 out of 10 points.
Yeah, because you'll float too. We all float down here. This movie was, it was just such an epic conclusion. I feel like the story was great. I feel like it had some moments that scared you, but overall it's I don't even really feel it as a horror movie. It's like a thriller movie to me. It's a great story, it just pulls you in. And I know Nick over here, he's actually read the books or listened to them rather.
Yes, I think it was the perfect sequel to the first movie. They ended it on a great note. We've seen this ended before, and they didn't do such a good job. This time they nailed it. Not to mention being able to take the book apart and put it all in chronological order, because the book is scattered all over the place. Now, it's not the exact ending of the book. It's very different, actually. But the way they went with it was an awesome choice for cinema.
Yes, and also the accuracy of the casting to the older losers versus the younger was pretty on point. I think there was a very good job, even into not just looks, but personality traits and the way they act. They did it very well. job with that film all the way around.
Yeah, it literally looked like they took the kids, stuck them in a machine, and just aged them.
So coming in at number 3, we have The Irishman, Martin Scorsese's epic that cost more to make than pretty much any movie in history. Coming in at 8.2 out of 10 points.
Now, this film, despite taking 3 days to watch, is very epic. It's got a great story. It is based off a book.
Well, I think The Irishman was pretty awesome as far as Scorsese films go. I do consider myself to be a bit of a Scorsese fan. I think that obviously the casting, having all of these men come back together, these guys that have worked with Scorsese for years and years and years, it was just really cool to see. The de-aging technology on the faces was pretty good. There are definitely points where you can see it. There are definitely points where it looks weird. But for the most part, it did its job. But mostly what this movie is rated so highly for would be the cast, the acting, and also the story. The story itself being, we think, is true. It still was, nobody knows for sure what happened. But it's just a great story.
A reason why a lot of people love this movie is because it's great to watch super old man Robert De Niro try and beat someone up.
Yeah, you're not going to let that scene go.
I mean, it was truly terrible. All right, coming in at number 2 was Avengers Endgame, our first movie here at R&R. We gave it an 8.4 out of 10 points.
Obviously, this was a big deal. It was the conclusion to the first 3 phases of the MCU, the phases that we grew up with, the superheroes that we saw. There is at least one plot hole that we knew about. We could probably talk about some other things too, but there was a few things. But overall, this was a great conclusion. I mean, the Russo brothers really did an excellent job with these last two movies, but it was great. It
was a good movie. I mean, I gotta say, and be honest, I was disappointed with this one. But Infinity War was so good for me that it's okay. I just needed an ending, and I got that.
What more do you... I mean, we got Avengers Assemble. We got them all standing in a big line in one scene together, and we also got to see Cap use the hammer.
Oh yeah, it's okay for us just to pile everybody in one scene together and have an absolutely terrible plot that doesn't line up at all with any of the previous films.
Anyway, we're not reviewing it today. Great movie. It's our number 2 for the year as far as points goes. So we gave it a pretty high rating.
That's what I want to say. Is like, it's not my favorite, but the numbers don't lie, and we try to be very non-objective with these numbers when we're writing them, and try and write them from a point of view that everybody would have.
Exactly. So, coming in at number 1, can I get a drum roll, please? What was that? Okay, so the highest rated review of 2019 is none other than Todd Phillips and Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, with a 9 out of 10 points.
And it was amazing. It was my favorite comic book-based movie of the year.
Yes, and the only 9 of 2019 that we gave out. So it was very realistic in its tone, very, very true to reality, and it's basically watching a man just completely come unhinged and change into a completely different personality. In essence, he did a great job, and not to mention, Joaquin Phoenix won Best Actor for this movie at the Oscars and the BAFTAs and a bunch of other stuff too.
Yeah, he was an incredible performer. Todd Phillips did a great job with the movie and the story. And I gotta say, for being such an artsy movie, it's one that I really enjoyed.
Yes, and last to note is that it's definitely such a different feel. In my heart, I can't even compare it to things like Heath to me, because it's not a Batman movie. It's a completely separate feeling. It's the farthest thing from what you feel a comic book is in that aspect, as far as the artsy contrast to it. So very different depiction, and but loved it. It was great movie.
Yeah. All right, so now we're gonna break off and kind of go over what our own personal top 5s were for the year. Because, like I said, the numbers don't lie, but they may not always have our own personal interest at heart. For me, my 5th top movie of the year was, in fact, the same one that we had here at R&R, The Lion King.
And for me, number 5 is also going to be The Lion King. Great movie. The nostalgia pulls at our hearts. I mean, you can't lie about that.
The score really sold it for me, and taking some of the things like the comic relief and kind of twisting them, writing them new, like with Timon and Pumbaa and the hyenas. It just did it for me.
Epic movie for sure. The visual effects really stunned me. I really think it was great.
Yeah, I hear a lot talking about how they don't have the emotional faces like the cartoon characters did, but I didn't need that. Then it would have literally been the same movie.
All right. Coming in at number 4 for me, I have The Irishman, which I think was just, the story was nailed. I mean, I already talked about it once. It just, great story, told excellently by Scorsese and these actors. Very well acted. 2 of the actors in it were nominated at the Oscars and some other awards. So just epic.
And for me, yet again, I lined up with what we did here at R&R. It Chapter 2 was my 4th. I loved it so much. I saw the movie twice in theaters, and that was after watching the first one back-to-back both times. I think the cast was great. I love a good Stephen King book brought to life, and I think this year they've really stepped up the game with all Stephen King movies coming out, and I'm looking forward to seeing more come out.
Except for Pet Sematary.
Right, yeah. No, In the Tall Grass was good. It Chapter 2 was good. Dr. Sleep was good.
Moving on.
So this is where we start to break off a little bit. At number 3, I have It's a Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. That movie, just the dramatic, emotional pull just grabbed me. And I know people said that it was slow. Everybody I talked to thought it was a little slow. And I thought, I don't know, I was just into it every moment. It just pulled me in. I thought Tom Hanks was great. The supporting cast was great. I mean, it told the story so beautifully, and it just gives this picture of a man that just wants to do good in the world. That's all. And it's great.
I just think I would have enjoyed that movie if the main character had been Mr. Rogers.
May he rest in peace.
I have nothing else to say here because I have argued with you about this the whole time because I think it was great.
Okay. Wilson. Coming in at my top 3rd movie of the year, this is highly controversial, was The Rise of Skywalker, Star Wars Episode 9.
Yeah, let me rip on this movie for about 15
I think that this was the incredible finale to the saga. It had by far my favorite scene in the Star Wars movie ever in it. It didn't need all the glam and fighting and action that the other movies needed to, put an ending to it. Some parts get a little bit corny, but hey, what is Star Wars? I think it got back to the original roots that a lot of what the Star Wars films are.
Yes, master.
I'm not going to go into detail because I have a lot of points that I can make. If you want to hear my details, go back to our Rise of Skywalker debate review because we literally couldn't agree on this movie enough to write a review that entailed all of our points and views. So check it out there. But I think there was a ton of plot holes. I think there was a ton of just dumb story details, unnecessary points. It wasn't what I wanted as a conclusion. The ending, I just can't even.
Basically, what it comes down to is I was not a hard enough Marvel fan to swallow the crappy plot that Avengers Endgame had, and he was not a big enough Star Wars fan to swallow the misguided plot of The Rise of Skywalker.
Well said, well spoken.
Wow. I can't believe you just said all of that. That statement is out of control. Moving on.
Coming in with my number 2 pick is Dr. Sleep.
The amazing sequel to the late Shining.
Is it dead?
I don't know. Nick, shut up. I don't know. The extremely late made sequel to The Shining. Okay.
Is it dead? Why do you keep saying it's late?
Because it came out so many years later. The sequel to The Shining that took almost 4 decades to make, but a very impressive film. Going into this, I think we were both unsure if it was really going to live up to the expectation.
And I feel that it definitely did. Not only am I a huge Stephen King fan, but I'm a huge fan of the movie adaptations. I think they put a lot of work into these, as I've said, with It Chapter 2. It's so different from the story of the book, where really they can almost be 2 separate entities, but still have the same story for the most part. But I really love how they take that and they just add so much to it, because they had to make up for the Shining movie not matching the Shining book, and so they adapted this book the same way.
I also, I've never read the book, so I can't really relate to that, but I can say one of my favorite parts of this was how they put the original characters in with the face animation, the CGI. I thought it looked great. I thought it felt real, and I thought it really gave a tie into the story, to keep them connected in a way that I just thought was great. It was as if it had been made 2 years later.
My favorite part, which is probably what took this movie so long to come out, was because they just kept having to do multiple takes of Ewan McGregor saying to Rebecca Ferguson, "Hello there," and then her shouting back, "General Kenobi."
My number 2 pick is none other than Avengers Endgame. And I think it was great. It was such an epic conclusion. And again, nostalgia is a big factor. This movie was the closing of every Marvel movie we watched up to this point, the ones that we grew up with. When Iron Man came out and these movies started, it was awesome. Epic conclusion. Can't say anything else. We already talked about it.
Right. There's nothing like watching Thor, not even be able to take Thanos on with the help of multiple other people, even though in the last movie he used his hammer to bring Thanos down when he had a gauntlet with all 6 stones on it. Incredible. All right,
moving on to our number 1 pick.
It's actually the same for both of us, and it's the same one that we had here at R&R, the Joker movie.
Wow. The Joker movie, Todd Phillips' Joker, epic movie, obviously our highest rated, and we try to keep it as objective as possible, as always. But these are our opinions. We love doing this. We have a love for cinema, and we're just going to grow more and more in our knowledge, our experience, and we're going to keep pumping this stuff out, whether you like it or not, because, we can.
Right.
But we hope that you're enjoying what you're listening to. We hope that you're, out there listening somewhere, maybe in the far reaches of the universe. But you're there, and we see you. And we see you. And we see you.
We just thank you guys for going on this wild ride with us, and we hope that you keep continuing with us as we go through the year 2020, and we're looking forward to having, a top 5 movies this year.
Yes, right on over again. So keep up. Make sure that you check out our Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter pages. You can email us at rogercinemahood@gmail.com. Check us out. We're starting to post some of our stuff onto Reddit. So we're trying to get out there and just do what we do. So until next time, guys.
Remember, it's a beautiful day in the cinema hood.
Get your grackle.
I think my favorite thing about the Joker movie was whenever Zach Galifianakis drugged everybody and they woke up the next morning and couldn't remember what happened.
And man, I really love Leonardo DiCaprio in The Irishman. I mean, when he's dragging himself across that concrete to get in that car and he gets mauled by that bear, that was an insane scene. I mean, he should have won an Oscar for that.
Yeah, just thank goodness Mace Windu killed the Emperor.
Yeah. I mean, what an ending. What a twist. Am I right? And then in the wait, you said Mace Windu killed the Emperor? I don't think we talked enough this year about MIB International. I mean, that was a good movie, man.
I think some guy wrote a whole rap about how it's not.
Yeah, the Cthulhu alien, huh?
Cthulhu alien. Cthulhu alien. Oh, baby, you.